Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very successful and accomplished entrepreneur and a very successful golfer from St. Louis, USA, Bob Labbe. Bob, welcome to the show.
Okay, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bob is the Chief Executive Officer of Amerair, and he's a passionate golfer. So, Bob, before we come to American Air Filter, how did your academic background in both engineering and business shape your early career decisions?
Well, of course, I went to Georgia Tech, good engineering school in Atlanta,
Yeah,
Georgia, and I was fortunate enough to be at the right time. You know, life's all about timing,
correct.
and it was 1960s, late 1960s, and there was a push in the world for controlling air pollution control. It was
Mm,
even though air pollution control had been around since the early 20th century, there was a big push
mm,
in the federal government. And by 1970, the Clean Air Act was passed. Well, I saw the air pollution control business, and being an engineer and with all the background to handle all the all the things associated with air pollution control, I thought, boy, this is going to be a great new field for me.
mm.
So that's what motivated. One of my fraternity brothers went to American Air Filter in Louisville, Kentucky, a year before me, and he told me how good it was. So I had back in the '60s. Now there was a need for engineers. So even though I wasn't the greatest student in the world, I got 23 job offers, and American Air Filter was the lowest job offer, but they had the best training school. And they
Mm,
gave me 6 months of in classroom training,
mm.
40 hours a week. And my theoretical education that I got at Georgia Tech was complemented by the practicality of what American Air Filter taught me.
Wow, wow. And as you look back at your 49-year career, what do you consider your proudest achievement?
Well, of course, we cleaned a lot of air throughout the United States and Canada and various parts of Europe. Um, so we're pretty proud of those accomplishments of
Mm,
cleaning all the particulate and SO2 and all the noxious gases that we did. But
mm,
I think one of the milestones that we hit in 1990, we did a job for Lucan Steel in Coatesville, Pennsylvania. And it was a steel mill that we not only had to guarantee the emissions out of the stack,
mhm.
we had to guarantee the quality of air within the melt shop and the temperature within the melt shop. So our system was so designed that we get guaranteed all levels of temperature and ambient air quality inside the shop as well as the emissions. And that was really a milestone in our business because we
Mm,
after that we did like 25 steel mill projects in the United States.
mm. And how has your personal journey influenced the way you view leadership and innovation?
Well, I've always believed and I've always lived a life where I I lead by example. Okay, I think of all the people I've had work with me through the years, and I never feel like anybody works for me. I feel like they work with me. Okay. And in the process of doing that, I have to be willing to do anything that I would ask any of my employees to
Right.
do.
Mm,
And so, in doing that, that's the kind of leadership I think you get the best out of your people because they know that you're in the trenches with them and they know you'll do anything that you ask them to do.
mm.
And boy, that's a very successful way of leading.
Fascinating. Let's now talk about American air filter and air pollution control. And you've been in this industry for your almost your entire life. How did the air pollution control industry look like in the early 70s when you began your career?
Well, it was it was phenomenal. because the Clean Air Act of 1970 had just passed, and the requirements for air pollution control emissions were lowered to the
Mm,
lowest level they had ever been in this country. There was a great need by all industries to comply so that they would meet the criteria and wouldn't get fined. So the the opportunity and the orders that were taken in the early 70s was unbelievable. I mean, we had people that said, please sell me a scrubber. And I said, I can't deliver it until 30 weeks from now.
mhm,
That's okay. Just I need your scrubber,
mm,
or I need your bag house. So the demand was so great in the 1970s and even into the 1980s.
mm,
We played catch up for like 10 to 15 years.
mm,
And then that catch up turned into the 80s and 90s where there was new businesses, modernizations, replacements, and that's the ongoing business today is it's
mm.
modernization, new businesses, and replacements. So
And sorry, go ahead, please.
that's kind of the nature of the air pollution control business
Mm,
today.
thank
Yeah.
you. But you were just telling me a few minutes back about how out of 25 jobs you took American Air Filter, and yet you
Uh,
left the company and decided to found your own company. Tell me about this decision and what was the reason to leave?
well, American Air Filter was a great company, and still it is. They don't do a lot within the air pollution control industry anymore, but they had a great training program. I learned a good deal from them, and I became their manager in the Atlanta office in 1969.
Hmm.
Okay. And one of the problems, see, being an engineer, not only do you want to provide the application of the equipment.
Hmm.
You want to engineer it. And the reason I left American Air Filter, I would sell the equipment, I would sell the system, but I never got to engineer the whole thing. I never
Hmm.
got to install the whole thing. So the reason I left American Air Filter is I wanted to do the complete job,
Right.
the entire system. And that was what led me on. And so all of my companies, Amerex and Amerair Industries, all of my companies were turnkey system companies.
Hmm.
We
Yes.
we provided the whole solution.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bob, what are some of the biggest misconceptions in air pollution control, in the world with leaders?
Well, I think one of the biggest misconception is that, people look at utilities where they build, burn coal and natural gas, and then steel mills and cement plants, all that, and they think, oh my gosh, they're terrible, terrible
Hmm.
polluters.
Hmm.
When in fact, 75 to 80% of the pollution in the world is created by transportation,
Correct.
cars, buses, trucks, airplanes.
Hmm.
That business, that's where the air pollution control, and
Hmm.
those are the noxious gases
Yeah.
but people don't think about that. They think about all this big industry. Well, big industry does a lot of polluting, but they also do a good job of cleaning it up.
Hmm. And what technological advancements in air pollution control have most influenced your work?
Well, it was kind of in the early days, lots of applications. You wouldn't put a fabric filter on them because the dust was too sticky and it would adhere and it wouldn't clean properly. So the advances that we went through in the 70s and 80s was many application like asphalt plants, asphalt saturators,
Hmm.
many applications converted from wet scrubbers to fabric filters. And fabric filters are virtually a zero inefficiency device.
Hmm.
And so it makes for a better pollution control situation,
Hmm.
and the product is recoverable and reusable.
And how did you balance engineering, manufacturing, and installation across so many international projects?
Well, we did most of our work. I'd say 80 to 85% of our work was in the United States and Canada. We did a good bit of work in Scandinavia and mainland Europe. And the way, because we built our company around to be the total system solution.
Hmm.
We had we outsourced our manufacturing based on our engineering drawings.
Mm.
We had subcontractors do our erecting, and we were the people that managed both the manufacturing and the installation. So we had a pretty cohesive group of people, whether we did it in the continental United States
Yeah.
or if we did it in Europe.
Mm. And what role did innovation play in keeping your companies competitive over the decades?
Well, we were always on the cutting edge of technologies, and that was largely due to the fact that the the improvement of the filtration medias, the fabrics, was ever increasing throughout
Mm.
my whole 50-year career. And
Mm.
we used Teflons, we used various forms of glass and various fabrics that got better and better. The air permeability was lower and the filtration was better.
Mm.
And that always made for a better outlet emission, which provide the customer the end results they were looking for.
Mm. Can you share a memorable project where your company made a lasting environmental impact?
Well, I think the one I described before, Lucan Steel in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, they that was a tremendous installation, and the fact that we made a great impact on the city of Coatesville because the plant was quite a polluter.
Mm.
And then the people within the plant, the several hundred people that worked within the plant on all three shifts, their air and their plant, their working conditions got so much better after
Mm.
we installed our system. The temperature was very comfortable. The atmosphere was very clean.
Mm.
The outlet emissions out of our pollution device, it made just a great change in the working conditions at the plant. And many people came to us and said, "Thank you so much for putting this system of yours in. It works wonderful."
Mm. One more question relating to Amerair, and then I've got a few questions for you on your golf. What were some
Okay.
of the toughest obstacles you faced in building three successful companies?
Well, it's you have to always be flexible. Okay. Sometimes when the steel industry is not expanding, you have to look elsewhere. And
Mm.
you have to be aware of where the activity is and where you have to have the capabilities to serve all industries. We serve the cement industry, the steel industry, pulp and paper, rock products. We are always constantly aware of where the growth and development was. And
Mm.
when we kept our eye on the target, we were always did well. And we did well through the whole 49, 50-year career. I mean, we had more business than we needed.
Amazing. Bob, let's now talk about your passion, which is golf. And just before we started recording, you were telling me that you currently play to a seven. Tell me, when did you get interested in golf? And tell me a few, one or two anecdotes about golf that you remember.
Okay. Well, I've always been an athletically oriented person, and but golf. You play 18 holes of golf with a foursome usually takes about 4.5 hours.
Correct.
And I wasn't. I was so busy in my business,
Mm.
but I had so many sales representatives all over the country that played golf with their customers that I'd have a sales meeting every year down at Destin where we had the company condominium, and we had our sales meetings. We always had a golf outing, and one of our representatives would create the golf outing so that we had a competitive day during our sales meeting. And I would play in those because of just natural athletic ability, but
Hmm.
I was not very good.
Hmm.
When you got to learn how to play golf to be a good golfer.
Correct.
And so, but I enjoyed the sport, but I was never very good at it. But I always felt, well, gosh, I don't have time to do that. I'm too busy in my work. I
Mm.
got my wife and my kids. I got this business. I've got to work, I got to work a lot of hours each week. So I didn't feel like I had time for golf my
Mm.
first 52 years of my life. Well,
Mm.
I was wrong. I should have played golf
Yeah.
earlier because golf is a wonderful place to talk with people about business. Okay. And it's a very competitive sport. In my mind, I played football, baseball, basketball, all those things. Golf is the most difficult sport as far as I'm concerned on the
Yeah.
planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all up here in your head, boy. It's a
Absolutely.
it's a game of you're playing against yourself, and
Correct.
you got to be in control.
Absolutely. It's the only ball game where the ball does nothing,
You're right.
isn't it?
Exactly. Exactly.
And for golf, they often say that you drive for dough and you putt for dough. Uh,
Right.
and you've written a book on putting.
Right.
Tell me about your book and help me understand uh, the thinking process behind developing putting by the numbers.
Okay. Well, they say that necessity is the mother of invention,
Mm.
and that's true. Well, I started playing golf in 1996 when I retired from my second company, Amerair.
Hmm.
Okay. And my partner and I, we went out and started playing golf together. And I went up to Maggie Valley, North Carolina, the PGA school up there, and took a group of lessons over a 4 day period so I could learn all the strokes of the game. And of course, what they impressed upon us at the school was, you got to practice, practice, practice.
Correct.
Okay, and so
Mm.
what I did from 1996, I played on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, 18 holes, and I practiced Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Mm.
Okay, so 6 days a week I would spend more about 4.5 hours when I played the 18 hole rounds, and then I'd spend about 2.5 hours, 3 hours practicing on the
Mm.
other days.
Wow.
So I got pretty good at the game pretty quick. Okay, because I am a kind of a natural athletic individual. And so, but the one thing I was really having trouble with was putting long distances. And I would find that anytime I was over 20 or 25 feet, there was a big chance for me to make a three putt. Okay.
Yeah,
And as you know, a three putt kills your score.
absolutely.
And so but I found in the first year or two, I was playing in the mid to high 90s.
Mm.
Okay. But I was using 40 to 44 putts per 18 hole round
Wow.
that was killing my score.
Mm.
Okay. And I got to think, well, I got to do something about this because I'm not, I play the rest of the game pretty good.
Yeah.
Uh, Nobody's perfect, but I was playing pretty good the rest of the game. But my long distance putting, I was
Mm.
okay. I was okay putting short distances, 3 or 4 feet. That I was pretty good at that. But I couldn't judge properly the long
Mm.
distances.
Yeah.
Up slope, down slope, and all that kind of stuff. So I thought to myself, I was watching a golf tournament, and I noted that the stimp meter was being used to determine the speed of the green.
Yeah.
And as you might be familiar, the stimp meter is nothing but a groove tube.
Absolutely.
You roll the ball down and it travels on the course. They do three balls and they assign the number for the average of the three balls.
Yeah.
And usually for the pros, it's 12, 13. It's very, very fast.
Yeah.
Well, that was this guy that I got the book out. Edward Stimpson wrote invented the stimp meter back in 1935
Mm.
after the U.S. Open at Oakmont. And I said, well, you know what? That is a daggum good idea because it creates a relative speed, but it doesn't really tell you anything. It
Mm.
only tells you they tell you the greens are fast, they tell you you're slow, but it doesn't tell you how fast or how slow. So I said, what I have to do as an engineer, I have to develop a method that is the whole game of putting is a force friction effort. Friction is the green, the fringe, the fairway, or the first cut of rough
Yeah.
that you got to putt on. And each one of those surfaces has a friction coefficient. So I said to myself, if I could derive a plan by how far to retract my putter from the ball and put and swing with my individual power factor. I invented that term, individual
Mm,
power factor,
mm,
because every individual has their own comfort level
mm,
of a pendulum type of swing.
mm,
And so my problem was when I had a long putt, I'd either muscle up and hit it too far, or if I thought it was shorter, I would baby it and I'd hit it too short.
mm,
So then I said, okay, well, just swing naturally.
mm,
And then when I decided, okay, well, if I swing naturally, then I have to be able to retract my putter the proper distance
mm,
and swing through the ball to deliver it a given distance.
mm.
And that's how I developed my method. Force friction, individual power factor, and then you can do all this arithmetically in your head. I mean, it's so easy because basically for me, I find that 90% of the golf courses I play, that the greens, for every 1 inch of putter retraction, I hit the ball approximately 20 to 25 feet in that range on
Wow.
the green, on the
Mm,
green. And then on the fringe, they normally come out about 7 feet per inch of retraction. The fairway is normally about 7 feet per inch of retraction. And the
incredible.
first cut of rough is about 2.5 feet per
Yeah.
inch of retraction. Now that's kind of an average. But what's cool about this method, you can play any golf course in the world.
Mm,
If you'll go there 15 to 30 minutes before your tee time and practice on their putting greens, you'll putt that course like it's your home course.
correct. Correct.
And that is what is so cool about this method.
This is
I can
brilliant. Mm,
I can play any course very comfortably and with confidence, and that's the key to putting is
mm.
confidence. Confidence,
Wow.
confidence, confidence.
Absolutely. Amazing. Bob, I have time for two more questions for you. Uh,
Okay?
how do you balance the precision of engineering with the intuition required in golf?
Well, you know, as you say, there is a very much of an intuition in playing golf. It's that feely, touchy
Yeah.
feeling of how I become because my mechanical engineering background, I'm more quantitative in my approach.
Mm,
Just like with all my clubs, I gauge all my clubs, and if you read my book, you'll see that I gauge all my clubs. In my lob wedge, putting wedge, pitching wedge, and sand wedge for a quarter, half, and three-quarter swings, I have a distance I hit the ball.
wow. Mm,
And so I have quantified the game of golf. So I play it more like Bryson DeChambeau.
mm,
Okay. Bryson is a quantitative physics sort of guy, and I play the game on his kind of thinking level. I'm not a feely touchy guy. I wish I had that. Jack Nicklaus was a feely touchy guy.
mm.
He's maybe the best ever. He could be the goat.
Correct.
But
Correct.
but but with that said, you have to be just a unique natural athlete to be that those level of golfers.
Fascinating. And my last question for you, Bob. Beyond technique, what life lessons has golf taught you about patience and persistence?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Golf is the most honorable game in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, you go out and play golf with anyone, get together a foursome of people unknown, and you watch them play, and you can see the honor and integrity in
Yeah.
people when you play golf.
Absolutely.
Because it's no fun playing golf if you don't play by the rules.
Absolutely.
If you don't play by the rules, then you're not playing golf.
Correct.
And so consequently, My wife's quite a good golfer. She's had 2 hole-in-ones. Unfortunately, I haven't had any.
Wow.
But I've had 14 balls within 13 inches, but she's had 2 hole-in-ones, and
Amazing.
she wants a third one. But I guess golf is such an honorable game. It's
Yeah.
such a mental game, and it brings out the best in people, and you make some of the best friendships in
Correct.
the world playing golf.
Absolutely.
So I would recommend golf to play. Anybody on the planet should learn, at least try to play golf, because it's a great game.
Absolutely. And on that amazing note of everyone should play golf, and I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you, Bob, for speaking to me about your own amazing journey. You gave us some amazing pointers on life lessons, on your own leadership skills in Amerair. And of course, you gave some very interesting thoughts on putting by the numbers. Thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.